Hi, this is Johnathan Tripp. This is my submission for the AWS Sampling Technology Lab. To begin, I'll answer some of the questions from this assignment. The difference between a private and a public cloud and some of the benefits of these is that a private cloud is something that an organization might use to host internal applications on their own equipment if they have the means to do so, which allows for much tighter control within that organization, whereas a public cloud enables developers and companies to utilize third-party services to host their applications on scales that may be far greater than what they may be capable of doing themselves. How services such as AWS and Microsoft Azure, which are examples of public cloud services, charge for their services is mainly based on hourly usage, as well as the configuration details for the server instances you run, such as the storage and memory configurations, as well as the architectures that you run your virtual machines off of. Issues I had during this project, I didn't have too many. Everything with configuring the AWS instance was fairly straightforward, including the authentication using a private and public key. The only real difficulty I had with this project is that the AWS free tier limits the capabilities of server instances you can create, and that resulted in a fairly slow server that I had to kind of work around. A developer or company might choose cloud-based services such as platform as a service in instances where they want to kind of shift the burden of maintaining those services to a third party, which can save money for the organization and just make management and overhead a little bit simpler to deal with. Developers or companies might choose traditional-based services if they have the means to host their applications on their own, and maybe the purposes of their applications are much more internally focused. So now to discuss the AWS instance that I've created, I've used EC2 to create a server instance running Windows Server Edition. I used a private public key for authentication. The server is running on the US East Coast, and you can see the configuration details for this server here. Configuring it was fairly simple. I just clicked on Launch Instance, which allowed me to choose the platform on which I wanted to build this application. From there, I just followed the default recommendations from AWS for the free tier, and I was ready to go. So, to connect to it, I used Windows Remote Desktop Connection, as I mentioned. I have the credentials for this server already pre-configured, but all I had to do was enter the credentials I created for this account and use the private key that I downloaded from AWS. And once I connect, the server will begin to initialize. And as you can see here, this is the basis for my application. It's a simple Node.js application, which if I run it here, you can see we'll go ahead and start up. And what this does is it basically hosts a Discord bot that a server with several of my friends can then utilize. And the main purpose of this bot is just to serve up pictures of bunnies from a series of subreddits that are related to that. If I issue the simple command bunny, you get a simple emoticon response, and if I issue the command bunny pic, then it scrapes several subreddits for the most recent pictures, pulls in image links, and then selects one at random to display. As you can see, the configuration for the server instance is 1 GB of memory. It's running on an AMD 64-bit architecture, and again on the US East Coast. So the performance of the server is not great. The code for this application you can see here. As I mentioned, it's a simple JavaScript application which utilizes an API created by this GitHub user called fetch subreddit, which allows me to designate certain subreddits I want to pull from. And then I used a simple regular expression to just filter out the results to get only those with image extensions, and then those are served. So it has commands such as the ones that I mentioned, as well as a simple help command, and one to just inform the user of the server's name. So that's it for my submission. Thank you for watching.